Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Mr. Ainsworth, and we're going to get into some fraction techniques here in Algebra 1. All right, this is just a review of what we did in Fraction Basics 1 and 2. Okay, so this is a review exercise. Now, remember, if you forget a technique, obviously you got this video. However, in OneNote, okay, we have done the previous two lessons here. So let me just show you. We talked about here. This is Fraction Basics number 1 that we went through right here. All right, it's in Canvas here. We went through all of this and went through all the techniques of how to subtract fractions, multiply mixing numbers. We talked about this new technique called the three product rule, okay, where you actually add and subtract fractions through multiplication very quickly here. We went over how to change the proper and mixed and simplify. I mean, we went through a bunch of stuff. And so it's all here. And then the second day here, we went over some more techniques. So use your resources to your advantage. You have this right here as you review, okay? Because you're reviewing to get better at your techniques, okay? So the first one here is how to divide mixed numbers here by a number where both the whole number and the fraction itself is divisible by the denominator. So take a look at my instructions here. The technique is dividing each by the denominator, right? Technique number 1. Sometimes this is possible and sometimes it isn't. And you're going to see this by looking at techniques 1 and 2. So you have to understand that 6 and 3/7 is something, it's just a mixed number, and you're taking 6 and adding it to 3/7, and your goal is to divide them by 3, right? Divide it into equal parts. So all you do is take 6 divided by 3, and then 3/7 divided by 3, and you get your result, right? Okay, so 6 divided by 3 is obviously 2, and if you take 3/7 and divide it into 3 equal parts, let's see here. Let's see, so 3/7, the little side arithmetic here, right, is the same as 1/7 plus 1/7 plus 1/7, right? So if you divide it equally into 3 equal parts, you take the numerator 3 and divide it by 3, and you get 1/7. All right, so what I just did mentally is I took 6 and I took 3 and I divided by 3. Divide them both by 3, okay, which is called the denominator. All right, so you have to just obviously understand the basic arithmetic here, basic common sense with fractions. And again, it's simple. Divide them both by 3. Right? Now the next one here is approach the same way. All right, you're going to 16 and 8/13 is actually a sum of two numbers. 16 plus 8/13. There's an invisible plus sign here between the whole number and the mixed number here. When you say 16 and 8/13, you're actually adding those two different numbers, right? Okay, so you divide them both by 4. Okay, so what's 16 divided by 4 and what's 8/13 divided by 4? Well, let's do the arithmetic. So 16 divided by 4 is 4. I mean, you have to know some basic multiplication and division from fourth grade. So if you're weak on that, listen, you're in high school in ninth grade, you better do some flashcards or do something, right, to get better, okay, by this time. So you can't pass the course unless you know how to multiply and divide. Okay, so 16 divided by 4 is 4. And then since 8 divided by 4 is 2, okay, 8/13 divided into 4 equal parts is 2/13. So you get 4 and 2/13. So you divide each by the denominator. There's your technique. Now, sometimes it's not possible, right? So we have to go back and do it the way you were taught in fourth grade. Okay, and you're multiplying by the reciprocal, okay, of the denominator. Okay, so let's take a look and review the old technique. All right, so 5 and 2/9, right? 5 and 2/9, all right, divided by 4 is the same thing as 5 and 2/9 times the reciprocal, which is 1/4. Okay, so this word reciprocal right here, you have to understand. Right, you take 4, which is the same thing as 4, excuse me, 4/1. Okay, 4 divided by 1 is obviously 4. Okay, and the reciprocal, okay, REC, is equal to 1/4. You reciprocate it, you invert it. That's all you do. Okay, and then you change to improper. Okay, so here we go. We're going to multiply 5 times 9 and then add 2. What do we get? Well, 5 times 9 is 45, plus 2 is 47, so you get 47/9 times 1/4. Okay, when you multiply numerators, when you multiply fractions, you multiply the numerators. 47 times 1 is 47. 9 times 4 is 36. All right, and then you go back to basics. 47 divided by 36 divides one time. 1 times 36 is 36, and then you subtract to get the remainder, and when you subtract, you get 11. So this is equal to 1 and 11/36. Okay, so this right here, this fraction is it's called division. Okay, you divide to get from here to here, and you show the division on the side if you can't do it in your head. All right, let's face it, most of you guys are going to be able to do it in your head. All right, 36 only divides into 47 one time. Okay, there's 11 remaining, and that's called the remainder after subtraction, and that goes up top in the numerator. Okay, so like I said, you can either mark the ones that you're weak at, go home and do some major practice and get good because arithmetic is everywhere in mathematics. You can't do well in this course unless you know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide basic numbers. And that's why we're starting off like this. Okay, same thing here. Here we go. So we're going to take 7 and 2/3, multiplied by the reciprocal of 2, which is 1/2. Okay, so again, the reciprocal of the denominator. RC is reciprocal in my notes here. Okay, so you just invert the fraction, change to improper. I mean, there's another way to do it, but I'll teach you that in class. I'm not going to do it here. So 3 times 7, 21, plus 2, 23, 23/3. Notice it's the same denominator here. Multiply it by half, you get 23 6. And then, of course, 23 divided into 6 equal parts. Well, we see 23, 6 divides into 23 3 times. Okay, 3 times 6 is 18, and you subtract to get the remainder. So you get 3 and 5/6. Okay, so the process of going from improper to mixed is called division. Okay, and so you divide on the side. So show your side work if you need to. Okay, that's optional. Hopefully, a lot of you guys can do it in your head. And like I said, these techniques right here go all the way back to grade school. I'm talking fourth, fifth grade. So get good at what you learned when you were young. All right. Here we go. Multiply by distributing. Okay, this is not traditional. I am not doing it the way you were taught in grade school. Here's the fastest way. Okay. So what you want to do is multiply, right? Distribute, which means multiply. So 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8. So you get 12 and 8/9. Multiply by distributing. So you distribute twice. Distribute twice. Okay? Multiply, guys. It's that simple. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8. So 4 times 2/9 is 8/9. And you're done. All right? Now here, same thing. 5 times 6, 5 times 3, right? 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times 3/7 is 15/7. Okay? Now this right here, this guy, it's called an improper fraction, right? So you have to change it to mixed by division, right? So 15 divided by 7 divides twice. 2 times 7 is 14, so subtract to get the remainder. So this is equal to 30 plus 2 and 1/7. Is 15/7 is 2 and 1/7. You obviously add the whole parts, 32 and 1/7. And there we go. All right, next one here is new technique. All right, now when you add and subtract fractions, you can do it the old way, which we're going to do. Well, we're going to do it right here. We're going to do it the old way in numbers 9 and 10, all right, by using common denominators. I'll do that in a minute. We'll get to that in a minute. But right now, let's do it the fast way, right? And this is what uh, more advanced students do, especially when they're in high-level math classes, and when you combine by adding and subtracting fractions. So here, you do it in 3 steps. 3 product rule means you multiply 3 times. First step, right here, okay? So actually, there we go. That's step 1. Step 1. And then step 2 would be multiplying 2 times 5. And then step 3 right here. I can't see that. Change the color. Change the density here. Let's see. There we go. Multiply here. There's your step 3. Always start off with the left diagonal, and order is important. So 3 times 9 is 27. Minus because we're subtracting, right? We're subtracting. 5 times 2 is 10. Divided by 5 times 9, 45. 27 minus 10 is obviously 17, and you get 17/45. So the trick here is you multiply 3 times. That is why I call it the 3 product rule. Product means times. There we go. And if you can multiply, you can add fractions, or you can subtract fractions. Now the second one is done the same way. Okay, so you start off with the left diagonal product. That's your step one, right? Then you start off with, then you multiply 5 times 2. There's your step 2, all right? And then you take your third one here, and then you multiply these guys, and there's your step 3, all right? So here we go. Here's my thinking. 3 times 7 is 21. Now I'm adding the fraction, so I'm going to put a plus sign. I'm adding, not the number 7 I was subtracting. Now we're adding. Okay, 5 times 2 is 10. Divided by 5 times 7, 35. So my answer is 31/35. Okay, and then your end result, make a little note here, simplify, all right, if needed. All right, I don't have to. These are proper fractions, so I'm done at this point. And this happens when you get good at this technique. You can add and subtract fractions so fast, it's unbelievable. It's a lot faster than the old way. Let me show you the old way. Let's go back to grade school. Okay, again, this is taught back, in the day, right? Back when you were in 4th and 5th grade. So your teachers did this. Okay, so I'm going to go do with the old way. 1/2, and then we'll line them up, right? 5/7. And then you form common denominators. So the first fraction, the common denominator is simply by multiplying the denominators here. It's called the least common denominator, LCD. So the LCD in this case is 2 times 7, which is 14. So I multiply this by 7/7 and this one by 2/2. What do I get? Well, okay, you get 7/14 here. Here we get 10/14. And then you add the numerator, 7 to 10 is 14. Excuse me, 7 and 10 is 17. So you get 17/14. There's your result. And then, of course, you divide. And that divides one time with 3 remaining, so 1 3/14. Okay, or you can just go 7, multiply 3 times, right? So 7 plus 10 divided by 14, and you're done. Okay, that is the using the 3 product rule. Down here on this next one here, you take 3/8 minus 1/5. Okay, and then you do your conversion. All right, 5 times 8 is 40, so I multiply the first fraction by 5/5, the next fraction by 8/8, and I get 2 new fractions with the same denominator. So what do you get? You get 15/40, and then you get 8/40, and then you subtract. 15 minus 8 is 7, so you get 7/40. Okay, so there's your old way right there. That's how you were doing it in 4th and 5th grade, and so you can do it that way, or you can do it what's called the 3 product rule in numbers 7 and 8. Okay, down here at the bottom left. Okay, all right. Now subtracting. Subtracting. This is the first thing I started with back uh, when I first started, when I first met you guys, first lesson. Okay, subtraction without borrowing. So you want to subtract left to right. So subtract left, right, to right. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to step it out. Here's my thinking. So let's just focus in on this. So I'm going to take 12 minus 4 minus the fraction. A lot of people forget that you have to subtract the 4 and the 3/7. And they think the answer is 8 and 3/7. And it's not 8 and 3/7, okay? Because the common mistake and that I see all the time, even with advanced students, is you only subtract the 4 and not the 3/7, so you get the incorrect result. All right, so subtract left to right. Again, this is subtraction. So 12 minus 4 is 8, but you still have to subtract the 3/7. So I want you to think pizza for a moment. Okay, so I'm going to use this as a right analogy. So I'm going to draw 8 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. From one of the pieces, okay, let's pick one. Okay, so let's pick the last one. I'm going to divide it into 7 slices. All right, so 7 slices here, so those are going to be 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 slices. Okay, subtraction means you take 3 out of 7, okay, 3 from 7, and see how much remaining you have. So first of all, we only have 7 whole pizzas left. And then if you eat 3 pieces out of 7, this is gone, and that's gone, and that's gone, you have 4 sevenths remaining. All right, 7 minus 3 is obviously 4. So the answer is 7 and 4 sevenths. So the answer can't be, it can't be 8 and 3 sevenths, guys. Not possible. Okay, it's 8 minus 3 sevenths, which is under 8. So you have 7 wholes remaining, plus some fraction, right? And if you take out 3 from 7, then 4 out of 7 remain. All right, so what I want you guys to do is think pizza. Okay, there you go. Piece of cake. No, it's a piece of pizza. That's what it is. Okay, so all right, so let's try it again. So 15 minus 4 minus 5 elevenths. Okay, so 15 minus 4, left to right. Okay, what is that? That's 11. All right, but you still have to subtract 5 elevenths. So the answer is under 11. It's 10 and some fraction. And if you subtract 5 from 11, you have 6 out of 11 remaining. Okay, so once again, subtract left to right, and it's pretty straightforward. Okay, now numbers 13 and 14 are just like numbers 3 and 4. Okay, so keep that in mind, dividing by multiplying by the reciprocal. So these questions here, it's basically 13 and 14 are the same as 3 and 4. Same as 3, 3, and 4. Okay? Why? Because it's division, right? So whether you write it like a fraction or using the old division symbol, okay, it's the same idea. All right, so multiply by the reciprocal. So we have 2/5 times 8/3. Okay, you want to multiply by the reciprocal. So you just invert the fraction. All right, switch the numerator and denominator. So I'm going to write down REC, reciprocal. So multiply by the reciprocal. So notice that I changed symbols. All right, so I take, then I multiply. 2 times 8 is 16. 3 times 5 is 15. And then you divide. Right? 16 divided by 15 divides 1 time. And then when you subtract, you get the remainder 1. So it's 1 and 1/15. So this right here, we went from improper to mixed. Okay, improper to mixed. And how do you do that? Well, you divide. Okay, it's called division. So do that in your head if you can, and if you can't, write it out. And some of you guys are still writing it out, which is fine. Okay, just do whatever it takes to get the results. Okay, and again, practice. And the more you practice at home, by taking these lessons and actually go home and practice, the better you're going to get. Okay, so in this one here, we have to change the, well, let's step it out. So we're gonna take 2 and 2/5, and we're gonna multiply by the reciprocal of 3/8, which is 8/3. Okay, then we're gonna change this 2 and 2/5 to improper. So 5 times 2, you always multiply and then add. So we take 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 more is 12. I gotta multiply it by the reciprocal, which is 8/3. Now you have a choice here, guys. You can multiply first. However, I don't suggest that because 12 times 8 is 96. When you see an opportunity like this, when 3 divides into 12, you ought to divide first. So I'm going to write that down. So divide first, okay? Then then uh, then multiply, okay? So watch here. 3 divides into 12 4 times. Back in grade school, you call that cross canceling, okay, or simplifying. So notice simplifying, you have to divide, right? So 12 divided by 3 is 4 in red. And then you write the result. 4 times 8 is 32, right? And then here in the denominators, 5 times 1 is usually 5. And then again, here we go. 32 divided by 5 divides 6 times. 5 times 6 is 30. And then when you subtract, you get remainder 2. So this is 6 and 2/5. Okay. So again, you divide right here. When you have a an improper fraction, this is called an improper fraction, you divide. All right. Show the division process if you need to. Okay. So what do we have? We only have two more. Okay, here we go. So simplify cross cancel before, all right, before multiplying. Well, I just showed you how to do that. All right, so here we go. 2 and 8. So look at the numbers with the common factors. 2 and 8 are both divisible by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. On 5 and 15, well, 15 divided by 5 is 3. So you might as well simplify there. And then 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 4 is 4, and you get 3/4. So you find the common factor and divide each number by a common factor. Let me write that down too. So all right, divide each number, divide each number by a what's called common factor. Again, all these techniques are basic and fundamentally important because if you can't work with numbers, you're not going to be able to do any algebra. Okay, so dealing with numbers is so important. Now, again, 7 and 14, so let's just focus in on this last two here. 7 and 14 have a common factor of 7. And 14 divided by 7, by the way, is 2. All right, so you divide. 14 divided by 7 is 2. If you want to put a 1 here, you can. Okay, 7, and then the other one here, 35 divided by 5 is usually 7, right? So divide here, and you get 7. 35 divided by 5 is 7. And then you multiply the remaining numbers here. 2 times 7 is usually 14. The denominator is 1, and 14 divided by 1 is usually 14, especially today. Just messing around. Okay, so there you go. And there you have it. There's your first, well, your review of all the fraction basic exercises that we covered, right, in the last few days of school. All right. So what you want to do is get good. All right. This is Mr. Ainsworth here. Take these, mark the ones that you're weak at, go home and practice. That's the key. And if you do, you're going to get better. If you don't go home and practice on your weaknesses, well, don't plan on doing well on that. All right, so be smart, be wise, go home and do the right thing and use your new technology on this iPad effectively. You have all your lessons in your iPad. Yeah, the first lesson here on Fraction Basics 1 that we did on day 1. And then we have Fraction Basics 2 on day 2. And all these techniques were done. They were all done in class with me. And then today we have this third one right here. Okay, so practice at home. I'll see you in class. And all right, take care. Make yourself proud. Bye-bye.